Season 2 Minibots complete. Woohoo! Hello and welcome to another episode of Stories from the Toy Shelf Unscripted. And today we're moving up to Season 2 Minibots, thanks to the arrival of the final one, Age of the Primes POWERGLIDE. So, SEASPRAY, Cosmos, WARPATH, Beachcomber, and POWERGLIDE, all in their deluxe scale glory. So, how did these guys end up? Well, let's find out, shall we? So it took us 6 years, starting in 2020, to get our 5 Season 2 Minibots. And it all started with this dude, Kingdom WARPATH. So just for a little bit of history, ever since the original toy, so we got a tiny Legends version, or Scout version, whatever. Then a way cooler deluxe version. And then a Combiner Wars version, all of which were great, especially that deluxe one. But they didn't really give off that classic Warpath vibe, simply because they transformed into like 4-track tanks, which were cool and futuristic, but you know, it's not this dude. This is 2020's Kingdom Warpath, and he fits the bill, at least when it comes to the ultimate mode. And so around 2020 was when Hasbro started trying to pass off smaller, or changing the whole idea of deluxe scale as not so much pertaining to size, but pertaining to difficulty, degree of difficulty of transformation, or parts count, however you want to put it. So that being the case, Warpath, traditionally a Minibot, is sold as a deluxe. And well, the top half is no problem. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's the bottom half where things get a bit interesting. So I had to, every time I pull this guy off the shelf, I have to kind of like relearn how to transform this guy. And admittedly, he is a whole lot easier to transform from tank to robot mode. It's a bit more of a bear to transform him from robot mode to tank. But yeah, so the legs go flip-flop all over the place. But let's see. The end result is a pretty decent Warpath. With this thing, it's the undercarriage. You don't really need it, but it adds stability and makes the alt mode whole. And well, you can pass it off as a shield. No gun, because of course he has a gun, a literal gun sticking out of his chest, which is like his thing. Get that in the tank treads. So as far as a figure goes, he's pretty much all you really need from a classic update to the vintage toy. And yeah, this guy is the least, because I mean, in the past 6 years, there was a kind of shift to a more toon aesthetic. And so this guy is a little bit more closer to the toy in terms of detailing and stuff, which is fine. I mean, he's a tank, so I can live with that. So yeah, Kingdom Warpath. Next up in 2022, we got this dude, Cosmos. So a lot of these Minibots, they got a good number of previous toys, mostly Legends class toys, Scout class toys, and Cosmos is, you know, not an exception. He had a couple earlier toys which were smaller because these were Minibots, but they were also more fit. They were leaner, which I don't know, didn't really fit the Cosmos aesthetic for me. For me, Cosmos, and to a certain degree, SEASPRAY are tubby bots, and I like my tubby bots to remain tubby. So yeah, this is the first traditional looking Cosmos that looks like a literal flying garbage can, which is fine. The flag, so this guy was part of a subset called the Velocitron series, which was a race-themed line of toys. So I don't know what Cosmos was doing there. I guess he's the finish line dude, because he's got the flag, which doubles up as a gun, actually. So, I mean, this is removable, the flag, and this is his weapon. And this guy, while the Velocitron line was usually a lot of repaints and retools of older toys, this was like, for his wave, he was the only original mold, I believe. Add that to the fact that he is an original vintage G1 character that everyone needs to have in their shelf. He was hella hard to find. I lucked out. I bought him online from a store in Malaysia, of all places. But I found him, and he wasn't selling for a crazy price, because after the initial stock ran out, and it did run out, this guy fetched a high price in the secondary market, I believe. Wait, I should be transforming him already. So this guy fetched a high price in the secondary market. So I was lucky. I was able to finally get him. Although I believe Hasbro has finally come around to reissuing him. So for those who missed out on Cosmos the first time, you're in luck because I think he's coming back for a second round. Ugh, I always hated this move because it's so stiff. And I always worry about breaking it, but yeah, it's a cool design. So like I said, all the previous Cosmoses were all mostly leaner, and they transformed into still flying saucers, but they were more, I don't know, they were flatter. They weren't as, garbage canny or tubular as the original. And so this is the first tubby Cosmos. That's how I like my Cosmoses. And I love this move, the last part, the head, which is usually traditionally you're supposed to like pull out the head, but this one, but anticlimactic. This one flips around, ta-da, and you have Cosmos, and you can have him waving his finish line flag, ta-da, or just have him wield it like a weapon. Although I always found it cool, like the original toy had these. I guess in plane mode, in flying saucer mode, they're like exhausts or whatever. But in alt mode, robot mode, they're like handguns, hand weapons. Yes, hollow, but whatever. He's a cool, tubby flying saucer, the way Cosmos should be. And then in 2023, this guy rolled around, Beachcomber. So I guess G1 fans can agree the original Minibot toys were pretty rough. And SEASPRAY and WARPATH and to a degree Cosmos had those oversized feet. POWERGLIDE looked really weird with those long arms. But Beachcomber was like the most decent looking of the bunch, and as such, from the start, he was always my favorite of the Season 2 Minibots. And while as a kid, the whole hippie, nature-loving, stoner, maybe some people would say, personality of Beachhead flew over my head. I didn't get it back then. I still get it now, and so it's endeared him to me more. Again, he didn't have as many previous versions, although he had a really cool Age of the, Power of the Primes version, which was slightly smaller, and I thought was like the definitive Beachcomber because you could actually fit a Titan Master inside. This one you can't, but that was cool. And when this guy was announced, I thought, is it really necessary? But given we're moving up to the deluxe scale, yes, it is necessary. So one thing I'm not so keen about is his weapon. I mean, it's cool to use the weapon as the bumper, but it's not symmetrical. But it works, I guess. And he also comes with a bird. Because he loves his birds. My daughter, she has an irrational fear of birds. And so I don't know if she likes Beachcomber, but she surely does not like this bird. But anyway, yeah, so pretty simple, straightforward. Just break up the roll bar cage and flip. Oh, sorry. Open up the underside. So yeah, Beachcomber. So like I said, the original toy, because of the original toy being the most normal looking of the bunch, he immediately became my favorite of the original Season 2 Minibots. And so, yeah, pretty straightforward. You got his gun. And the bird can be flopped on his shoulder, which is cool. So right now, Beachcomber is getting a pretty meaty role in the latest Energon series. I don't know what role he's playing. He's sort of like the Bumblebee role now. Because, spoiler, they killed off Bumblebee in the first season, the first issue. But anyway, so he's the pacifist, he's the geologist, he loves his rocks, and he's pretty cool in my book. So quite happy with this Beachcomber. Okay, number 4, SEASPRAY. So this is the retro version of SEASPRAY released, I believe, last year, if I'm not mistaken. So this is when they started retooling the Minibots into their toy versions. And so when this guy was first announced, I guess it was pretty obvious that Hasbro was planning to double dip, and they would soon enough release a more tune-accurate SEASPRAY. But that being said, I've got low EQ, and while the original idea was to wait for the mainline legacy or whatever version of SEASPRAY that's more cartoon-based, when Hasbro announced POWERGLIDE and the idea of being able to complete all my season 2 mini bots seemed like more of a reality, I bit the bullet and I decided to just, me of low EQ, what is wrong with this thing? Me of low EQ finally bit the bullet and decided to just go for this retro version. These retro mini bots are based on the toy. So as such, like characters like Brawn and Gears, who in the cartoon had actual faces, the original toys didn't, and so they got new faceless head sculpts. And as such, SEASPRAY, okay, so I like my bot's tubby too, my SEASPRAY bot's tubby. So as such, SEASPRAY gets a rather basic head sculpt, which we will get to. Oh, sorry, you're supposed to bring it up. My bad. These things have an irritating knack of popping off, and when they do it, they're hard to like put back. So you can actually have the feet like this if you like them big and rounded like the original toy, but the actual transformation is to like, flatten them up. Because it adds to the stability, I guess, right? So where does this go? This goes first and this goes first and this goes over. So yeah, in terms of toys, SEASPRAY actually got, for some reason, again, weird, these guys are mini bots, but I think it was for the Revenge of the Fallen movie, he got a Voyager toy, and it was a huge Voyager toy, a more stylized hovercraft, but it was pretty cool, and it came with this guy called Breacher, who was supposed to be, an armored amphibious vehicle that could be loaded onto SEASPRAY's back, which was cool. He was also, I believe, officially the first Transformer toy that broke under my watch. Breacher, not SEASPRAY. So that SEASPRAY was cool because he came with like, if I'm not mistaken, he came with retractable fins. But as cool as that version was, he wasn't a mini bot. And for me, SEASPRAY is a mini bot. So I eventually sold him off, and now we have this guy. So like I said, this is supposed to be based on the toy version, and as such, his face, just like the original toy, I'll put a picture right here, is basically an indistinct yellow head with a black stripe for the eyes. So the cartoon model had eyes, which again gave him more personality. But I have low EQ, and I'm saying this now, I'm pretty happy with this retro version. But when they eventually announce the regular, maybe Studio Series 86 or whatever they'll call it, SEASPRAY, I may just double dip. But for now, this guy works. And finally, we have the last Season 2 mini bot, POWERGLIDE. He was announced and he came out pretty fast. So I'm quite happy that we were able to complete the Season 2 mini bots faster than, well, okay, it took 6 years, but it feels like, the last two were just released right after the other. And okay, let's get this guy transformed. Let's see. So POWERGLIDE also has had quite an interesting toy history, as his first modern toy wasn't a small Scout or Legends class figure. It wasn't a deluxe. It wasn't even a leader. It was an ultra class version, part of the classics, what was it called? Classics? Transformers Classics 2.0. He was a huge dude. I don't know why they did him that way, but it makes sense. The guy transforms into a bomber. So that was pretty interesting. I got the first release, which wasn't even maroon. It was gray with some maroon highlights, but that was fun. It was a cool design. It was a bit off proportionally with an extremely huge upper body and like super duper thin lower half. And I believe he even had lights and sounds, if I'm not mistaken. So after that, we got basically more mini bot versions, which is par for the course. An interesting one was, for a time, he was, wait, before we get I found this so cool. So the gun is actually a locking mechanism to flip the face over. So now that it's up, you can move the face around. But so flip it around. Oh, sorry, before we flip, let's just do this and get it out of the way. Alien mask from Hoist Goes to Hollywood. Cool, but they should have done this with all the other dudes like Sunstreaker and stuff. So it's cool, but now he can only cosplay with himself. He can't even cosplay with Hoist. If you know the episode, you know the episode. And then, so once you flip it over, you can just lock it like that. And No, sorry, it goes even deeper. There you go. Now it won't move. And then he also comes with this feature where he shows off his little heart, where he fell in love with that human in that episode, the girl who loved Powerglide. So yeah, this is Powerglide. Uh, it's odd, but you could fit the gun here, the mask over the gun, give him an alien-looking gun. So Powerglide. Okay, technically the proper transformation is you push these fins, these ankles in, right? But so it kind of fills in the feet and it keeps the fronts from folding in completely. But I don't know, he's just so small. So I just leave these things outstretched, the ankles outstretched to give him a little bit more height, right? Make him fit more. That being said, I think he's possibly the weakest of the bunch because I don't know, I'm not a big fan of the proportions. It's okay, I guess. His head feels a little bit too big, maybe. Let's unhook that. But yeah, other than that, oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So the Combiner Wars version, so there was a time when Hasbro tried to incorporate him into the aerial bots. And so the Combiner Wars version actually had a third mode where he would transform into the gun of Superion. I think I've sold that version. Yeah, I sold that version, but I did keep the repaint, which was Viper, which was a redeco, and he was supposed to transform into the Cobra Rattler. And I hear that they are planning to release this dude as that Viper guy again. So, no, cool. But yeah, nothing else to say about Powerglide. So, my least favorite, but I mean, he's cool and he finishes up the Minibots. So, okay, so I'm shooting this at a later date because after I checked my footage, I realized I didn't give a proper final collective thoughts on the group. So, let's do it. Yeah, as a group, it took 6 years, but we finally have it, the 5 Season 2 Minibots. And was it worth the wait? Yeah, I would think so. There are no stinkers in the group. They're all pretty good representations of the 5 Season 2 Minibots. And honestly, I know never say never, but if they never ever make any new versions of these guys, I think I'm good. I mean, it took multiple releases of smaller figures here and there until we finally got these guys, and I'm pretty happy with them. Now, if I were to rank them, okay, so 6 years, and let's see, the newest one, Powerglide, I would call the weakest of the bunch, simply because I'm just not a fan of the proportions. Right? He just looks off. He looks just too small. His head is too big. I don't know. He's my least favorite. Next to him is Warpath, just because, well, he's the first, and it really shows, his age really shows between the 5 of them. Comparing these two, the newest one to the oldest one, the differences are pretty obvious. I mean, a lot has changed in the past 6 years. I mean, if you really, really nitpick, you could make an argument that they sort of come from different lines. I mean, he's super ultra detailed, but he's a tank, so I'm good with that. I'm good with a super detailed tank, and well, Powerglide is a lot cleaner. But on the shelf, I think they're perfectly fine, standing side by side. So after Warpath, I think so. The next two would be SEASPRAY and Cosmos, and Cosmos edges SEASPRAY out just because I think he's better engineered. SEASPRAY is no slouch either. I really like this guy, and I have fun transforming him back and forth. I just wish it wasn't the retro version, but low EQ, and when the studio series or whatever, the more mainline, the tune version comes out, maybe I'll switch out, but this one's perfectly fine. And well, Cosmos, yeah, I mean, yes, I'm a fan of Cosmos, and I prefer his character more than SEASPRAY, but if we're talking toy-wise, he's gone through multiple iterations, thinner iterations, so I think this guy fits my idea of the perfect Cosmos in my head. So yeah, my favorite would be Beachcomber, simply because he's the simplest, right? The least hassle in terms of design and engineering. I'm not a big fan of, I mean, I think it's a creative solution, but I'm not a big fan of, again, the gun becoming the bumper. But what can you do? But he's easily the funnest of the bunch, easy to transform back and forth, and I really like the bird. It's a nice touch, although my daughter might say otherwise. So that would be my rankings. Powerglide 5th and Beachcomber 1st. But all in all, I'm happy with the set, right? I'm happy. I'm happy that Hasbro finally got to them. And I will be even happier when Hasbro gets to completing these guys. Not the Combaticons. We want the Combaticons too. But these guys, the 3rd season Minibots. So please, Hasbro, give us a tailgate soon so I can do my next video. I mean, of course, I'll be doing more of these, but that's it for this video, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.